RiverBender.com's coverage of today's event is brought to you by Phillips 66, Gerard Fisher, American Family Insurance, Barrett Heating and Cooling, Munganell.
Well, so great to see everybody here, and I'll just kick it off by saying this is a phenomenal development for Southern Illinois, for Alton, for entrepreneurs, for the university, and frankly, I'm very excited to see it. I'll just point out to many of you that I founded something just like this called 1871 in Chicago, and it's created thousands of jobs over the years. That was back in 2011 and 2012, and I get to see what the evolution looks like 12 years later, that these spaces are much nicer, much better than what we created in Chicago. And I love the idea that Alton's going to be the hub of activity for entrepreneurs, tech entrepreneurs, as well as offline entrepreneurs, and the university being a kind of a guiding light. And Emily, of course, leading the way. And I want to especially thank the Simmons family, John in particular, for their amazing commitment to Alton and particularly to supporting spaces like this. So happy to take any questions from members of the media, and I'm sure if there's something I don't know the answer to, I can rely upon the experts behind me.
Who wants to go first?
Just shout out, guys.
Yeah.
Last time you were in Madison County, you spoke about an advisory referendum regarding secession that passed 56.5 to 43.5. What do you make of that vote?
I think people, express their frustrations in a variety of ways. This is not something that actually will make any change in the state of Illinois. And I know that Madison County didn't vote for my candidate for president, so I'm not surprised that it voted as it did on the referendum.
President-elect Trump today has announced he's nominating RFK Jr. to be Health and Human Services Secretary. Governor Polis, who you just announced an alliance with, has come out in support of that nomination with some caveats. Your reaction?
Well, yeah, everybody can have an opinion about the nominations that are being made by the Trump administration. We share in common, Governor Polis and I, a desire to defend our democratic institutions, and we're going to continue to do that together and with governors across the United States. So, happy to hear that he's got opinions about one particular nominee. I don't share that opinion, but that's okay.
Is there anything that Illinois should be doing? You've talked about, other states have talked about Trump proofing, for lack of a better term. Is there anything that Illinois can or should be doing between now and January 20th?
I don't know that it needs to be between now and January 20th, but importantly, let's start with, we should work together, the federal government, the White House, the state of Illinois, on things that are good for people in Illinois, and we're going to do that. We also want to make sure that to the extent that the White House or the federal government is taking actions that are not good for people in Illinois, then we've got to be able to defend against that. And most importantly, democracy is not just an idea. I mean, there are institutions of it that we need to defend. And, one of them is making sure everybody has the right to vote. That's just one example of an area that we all want to make sure gets, maintained in this country. We also want to make sure that the federal government is treating the states appropriately, as it has traditionally. We have states' powers, they have federal government powers, and not interfering with those is something that I think this organization of governors and Governor Polis, we all share that in common.
Back to the Wedge, how important is it to have the colleges, entrepreneurs, and the city collaborating on such an innovative measure?
I appreciate that question because, and I'll just go back to, again, when I was doing this and long ago, I can tell you that having the university involved directly in this space and available to the entrepreneurs is a huge benefit. I can just tell you, having been involved with a lot of entrepreneurs over the course of my business career, the resources that a major university, and a very successful one at that, can bring to the table means that there will be economic success that's greater than it otherwise would have been, because they're sharing space and sharing ideas with one another.
A brief follow-up to that, too. How great is it to see Southern Illinois and more of these kind of rural suburban areas coming together using AI and trying
Well, it's not a surprise. Let me be clear. First of all, SIU in general, SIUE specifically, the university is a major advocate for and an academic institution that is about technology development, and entrepreneurship. And so seeing the development of something like this in Alton, to me it does the heart good. It also tells you that Illinois is on the rise everywhere. And when you've got really great people coming together, bringing their resources to make it possible for people to build great businesses here, that's how economic growth is made. And small businesses, startup businesses, are the progenitor of most of the growth that exists all across the nation. So the more we can do it in Illinois, and especially here, the better off we all are.
Governor, what's the latest from the Illinois EPA on the Alton sinkhole?
I don't have any update for you today, but thank you.
Governor, your relationship with Governor-elect Kehoe?
Sorry?
Have you talked with Governor-elect Kehoe, or has your team been in touch with him? Do you have any sort of working relationship with him as he gets sets to take over in Missouri?
I have not. I intend to reach out. I just haven't had the chance to do that. I know that a lot of the governors are at what we call baby governors school. In case you haven't heard this before, the National Governors Association hosts the new governors in something I was at for 6 years ago to teach them about things they may not already know about being governor. So I know probably getting a lot of education there. But when Governor-elect Kehoe returns, look forward to the opportunity, not just to talk, but also to meet.
If the Affordable Care Act is repealed under the Trump administration, would Illinois consider expanding their state health care? And could Illinois potentially team up with other blue states to create a blue state Affordable Care Act?
We haven't talked about that particular idea of blue states joining together. I will say that the resources that are made available to people who do not have health insurance otherwise, if those are taken away, that is not something states have the ability to replace. Just don't. It's too expensive. The federal government has been funding a good deal of that. And of course, we've been helping. We pay for about 50%, as you know, of any Medicaid dollars that are spent, and the other half is federal. But the state of Illinois can't replace it entirely. We would do everything that we can, however, to support our hospitals, our clinics, to make sure that people have available to them in their communities healthcare, whatever we can do. But replacing Obamacare on a local or a state level is very difficult.
Governor, as you know, many states, or some states I should say, have threatened their own residents that they can't seek reproductive services in states like Illinois. What can you and the legislature do to try to protect people that would cross state lines in Illinois to do so?
So I appreciate that. We have passed aspects for what's called a shield law, which would prohibit other states from getting information about people that are coming across state lines in Illinois to exercise their rights here. And we're going to do everything we can to continue to protect women and their reproductive health. It is health care that they're seeking, and I think that's a right and not a privilege, and so we'll continue to do it. Remember, for people who would say, well, they're opposed because there's some expenditure involved by the state of Illinois, actually that's not the case. We don't pay for people's abortion services who are coming from out of state. Honestly, I wish that the federal government did more to support, because these are poor women typically who are seeking this refuge. Many of them won't be able to even get here because they can't afford the gas, they can't afford the overnight stay, and they can't afford the services themselves. But we're doing everything here, and there have been foundations, nonprofits that do try to support women who otherwise can't afford those services. But again, I think we've been a refuge and a haven, a safe haven for people who are just seeking to exercise that freedom.
We'll do one more and then we have to finish.
Back to the Wedge, with the revitalization of this building and keeping the charm of the initial Wedge building, how important is it for development projects like this to maintain the charm and the look and that kind of historic feel that those generations before that are coming to know and are used to knowing? How important is that for a modern build?
Can I say that it is spectacular that that these buildings are being revitalized. The look, the feel, it has this very cool vibe as a result of the mixture of what's happening inside, which are modern businesses being created, and what on the outside, as people can see, there's a real history to honor and cherish that is being done by the supporters of this. So again, this is about as cool as it gets.
Last one here.
Governor and Mr. Simmons, what is the value of these public-private partnerships in revitalizing Southern Illinois and connecting the states across the Wedge?
Well, we couldn't do this without the help of the state and the federal government. So the legislatures, the city of Alton, the state of Illinois have all been great, and we've truly melded these dollars and I think maximized it, and Emily's going to showcase it. So.
That's great. I'll just add that, the working across, having states working together, people across the river, and, because this is about regional economic development. It isn't just about what's on one side of the river. What's good for people who live on one side is also good for people who live on the other. I must say, though, I'm very proud that this is here in Illinois.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Well, so great to see everybody here, and I'll just kick it off by saying this is a phenomenal development for Southern Illinois, for Alton, for entrepreneurs, for the university, and frankly, I'm very excited